Google the words lesson study and you'll get more than 19 million hits. Here in the U.S., lesson study is a phenomenon. Some would say a full-blown movement. The buzz is out there for good reason. Speak with teachers who have experienced lesson study and you'll find that the process has changed them. They're excited about their profession again, more actively engaged with their colleagues and students, more knowledgeable about their subject matter. They feel renewed, inspired, energized. Lesson study isn't magic, and it's certainly not some cure-all for ailing schools. Most will say it's hard work. It takes commitment, not only from the participating teachers, but from the school, the district, the union. It takes time and collaboration. Still, even with resources in short supply, schools around the country are adopting lesson study as a fundamental tool for professional development. This video module and those that follow will overview some of the critical phases of lesson study. We'll explore the dynamics of the process in order to illustrate its key components, and you'll learn why those experienced in lesson study will emphasize the process, not the product. Our group has already been formed. The calendar has been worked out. They know that they're going to be dealing with a middle school mathematics lesson. They've introduced themselves to one another, but they don't really know each other. Maria is an experienced teacher and experienced with lesson study. This is her first time facilitating a lesson study team. Tracy is also an experienced teacher and lesson study veteran. The rest are experienced middle school math teachers and lesson study neophytes. The 6th, 7th, and 8th grades are represented, so is special education. Jerry teaches at a local university. It's a good mix. Veteran lesson study teachers can jumpstart and guide the process. Teachers from adjacent grades can help develop the lesson so that there's coherence across the grades. And Jerry represents our knowledgeable other, someone who can observe the lesson study and offer insights from a totally different perspective. That's an important role in lesson study because the knowledgeable other can and should keep the group focused on the authenticity of their content. The first task of the group is to determine the research theme. Think of this as establishing the overarching goal for your students, what you want your students to look like in the long run.
From the Japanese lesson study, it says by focusing on the qualities they hope students will have several years down the road, Japanese teachers try to choose a goal that is worthy of sustained long-term work rather than faddish, trivial, or tied to narrow outcomes such as test scores. I mean, even starting with math classes, there are a certain attitude that, I mean, what do we see and what do we hope to see? We can probably talk about those in either order.
I have a, smart kid. Kids call him the genius. And the thing is, I'm finding, he's been told he's smart all his life, but he's struggling because he's got to actually think and work through things, and I don't think he understood what he was doing. So even though he's been good and he can always get the right answer and eventually get there, he doesn't understand what he's doing. So does that make it good? If you don't understand what's going on.
It comes back to also with word problems and things, if they rely so much on the calculator and they don't understand what the word problem is asking on, say, a standardized test, they'll look at the numbers that are in that problem, type into the calculator, do some random operation and see if it's one of the possible choices. And that, I've seen kids, it's kind of like a guess and check. Is this a possible answer? Okay.
These teachers decided that they want their students to become inquisitive, creative, resourceful problem solvers. They also felt it important that students utilize a 4-step problem-solving process. First, understand the problem. Then devise a plan that draws from a multitude of possible strategies. Carry out the plan and check the answer for reasonableness and validity. Next up, identifying the topic of the research lesson. This group is using the Michigan Curriculum Framework to find their topic. Your state may have similar standards, and they will likely form the basis for your research lesson as well. Let's join the group now as they review data in search of a lesson on which to focus this lesson study.
What were some of the areas in middle school? Like, those are different? I just wondered from that if you have some areas that...
Well, actually, we did what they did. We went through the meet, and we looked at our areas of weakness, and we designed our instructional focuses so that we sort of address those areas that we were weakness, and we're doing it like across the curriculum. Like example, this is an outline of the month of October. It as the first week we were doing the distinguishing between prime and composite numbers, and then the following week it goes on to comparing and ordinary rational numbers. So it's sort of a progressive thing. We've gone over the entire meet, and we're trying to get a district-wide thing, so everybody's doing it for the first 10 minutes in the classroom, regardless of what you teach.
We do have some specifics, I guess, that we noticed some patterns here, especially in the geometry, as far as rotations, reflections, and transformations.
We found that in our school too.
Yeah.
Looking at that. That's a
And
big
that
thing.
corresponds with the Terranova information also.
Yeah.
And overall, it looked like the state scores were down in that area too.
In this lesson study session, participants rely heavily on statewide testing known as the MEAP, also known as the Michigan Educational Assessment Program. This testing allows them to focus on topics that are persistently difficult for their students, as well as topics that are shared across and important to the district. There are a number of issues that come into play here: how the topic is taught, when the topic is taught in each school, which issues are common to each school, and so on. And so on should be explained. This first session took several hours as teachers really explored the hows and whys of their students' weaknesses. This honest reflection is one of the most critical components of the lesson study process. It represents an opportunity to take a deep dive into the problems and issues confronting teachers today. It allows you to reflect upon the results of your teaching rather than what you're covering on any given day. In other words, this phase of lesson study allows a teacher to focus on how to teach rather than what to teach. In our next module, we'll look at how this group arrives at a consensus on what topic to teach and planning the best way to present this topic to students.